Meanwhile, the Ukrainian armed forces have destroyed one of Russia's most dangerous electronic warfare stations in the Kharkiv region. Border Guard pilots from the Phoenix unit eliminated the enemy's R-330 Zytel electronic warfare system. But there is also troubling news. The Russian occupiers have intensified their offensive on the front, and Russia has handed over tons of gold bars to an Iranian company. This is a kind of barter for military equipment. Meanwhile, North Korea has supplied Moscow with up to 9 million shells. Our journalists know all the details.
The Ukrainian armed forces have successfully taken out Russia's most advanced electronic warfare system, the Borisogledsk-2. Fighters from the 413th Raid Battalion detected the station and struck it from a distance of about 70 kilometers. The occupiers have said goodbye to yet another electronic warfare system. Fighters from the border unit destroyed the Russian electronic warfare system R-330 Zytel with precise strikes from kamikaze drones, which the occupiers had tried to hide among the buildings. Meanwhile, in the Russian city of Vladivostok, in the area of Desantnaya Bay, where military equipment is loaded and unloaded, explosions have occurred. Law enforcement agencies and special services quickly cordoned off the area, set up checkpoints, and temporarily suspended traffic. However, the reasons for the incident have not been disclosed.
Something was definitely happening, yes. A police car sped by, followed by 3 ambulances. Most likely it was that situation happening at Shimora. Nothing is clear, but it's very interesting.
And while the cause of the explosions is still being sought in Vladivostok, Germany has approved new military aid to Ukraine amounting to 5 billion euros, which includes funding for long-range Ukrainian-made weapons, ammunition supplies, and more.
First and foremost, this concerns Germany's funding of long-range weaponry in Ukraine. Moreover, it specifically refers to Ukrainian-developed systems. In addition, it is reported that the German side will supply Ukraine's defense forces with artillery shells, air defense systems, ground-based weaponry, small arms, and accordingly, satellite communications.
Meanwhile, against the backdrop of negotiations, Russia has intensified its offensive and achieved its most significant gains since January, according to the BBC. In particular, the article notes that the city of Rodinske, which is 15 kilometers from Pokrovsk, is literally swarming with enemy drones. At the same time, since the beginning of the year, Russian occupiers' losses have exceeded 190,000 people.
At the moment, the Russians' tactical gains amount to about 100 square kilometers. And it should be noted that the greatest tactical successes of the Russian occupation forces were recorded in November 2024. This was an advance into Ukrainian territory covering up to 750 square kilometers. Moreover, it should be noted that in the month of April, the Russians had their smallest tactical gains.
Russia has also begun using new Danim drones against Ukraine. However, the company that once manufactured them has long since ceased to exist. In other words, the enemy does not have significant stockpiles of these targets.
This information should be treated with great caution because apparently it may actually refer to Iranian hybrids equipped with jet engines. If this information is confirmed, then it will undoubtedly indicate that the Russian Federation has acquired strike capabilities with a range of about 400 kilometers.
And Moscow transferred nearly 2 tons of gold bars to an Iranian company totaling around $104 million as payment for the Shahed 136 attack drones.
If this information is confirmed, 104 million is roughly equivalent to 2 to 2,500 Shaheds. For context, the Alabuga plant, which was built with the participation of Iranian specialists, currently has the capacity to produce about 10,000 Russian Jiran-2 drones. This is a copy of the Shahed 136. In other words, we're talking about the possible transfer by Iran of drones to the Russian Federation in quantities comparable to the plant's quarterly output in Yelabuga.
In addition to its cooperation with Iran, the Kremlin continues to receive weapons from North Korea. North Korea may have supplied Russia with up to 9 million artillery shells and at least 100 missiles in just the past year and a half. In exchange for this assistance, Putin gave Kim Jong-un at least one vehicle equipped with a Panzer-class air defense system.
Let me remind you, until quite recently, reports mentioned a maximum of 5 million shells that may have been supplied by North Korea. But even 5 million shells raises certain questions. But even taking into account the modernization of Rheinmetall's production and the U.S. military-industrial complex, the total number of munitions produced by the defense industries of Europe and the United States is about 1,200,000. That's why questions arise about where North Korea got 9 million shells, which they supposedly transferred to the Russian Federation.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now.
And now we move to the Kramatorsk and Toretsk directions of the front. The Russian world continues here as well to destroy, kill, and maim. In the Kramatorsk direction, the enemy assaulted the defense forces' positions towards Bilahora. Our defenders repelled 3 enemy offensive actions. In the Toretsk direction, since the beginning of the day, there have been 5 clashes in the areas of the settlements of Delivka, Klishchiivka, Toretsk, and towards Yablonivka. The defense forces repelled all enemy attacks. Instead of the old Soviet ones, there is now the modern self-propelled gun Bohdana. In the 44th Artillery Brigade, the soldiers have been operating this system for 6 months already, have studied all its advantages, and as they say, there are quite a few. Bohdana skillfully targets both Russian equipment and personnel. In the east overall, the invaders are trying to advance in small groups, coming in on motorcycles and electric scooters. That's why the artillerymen definitely have plenty of work. TSN correspondent Kira Oves saw the features of modern equipment, the combat work, and the daily life of the soldiers of the 44th Brigade.
The gun. Fire.
It hits well, accurately. The vehicle is good, but sometimes it's afraid of the mud.
So how do you get out?
Engage all-wheel drive and off we go.
Precise and mobile. That's how the artillerymen of the 44th Brigade praise their Bohdana. It was developed in Ukraine. It's almost fully automated, equipped with a 155mm gun, and can hit targets up to 50 kilometers away.
The vehicle proves itself to be effective. All the advantages are in the fact that everything is automated. Producing our own systems and our own shells is a huge plus.
22-year-old Vitaly, with the call sign Recruit, the gun commander, says the Bohdana is a great help in repelling Russian assaults.
Right now there are very active assaults using motorcycles, so we are mostly targeting infantry. There's no equipment at the moment, no tanks, no BMPs. You don't see any of that now. There are some motorcycles and I don't know, there were even electric scooters and now they move in small groups. Before, a whole company could advance.
The occupiers attack every day, mostly when it's cloudy and very hard to spot them, the artillerymen say.
Lately I've noticed that the enemy moves mostly when it's raining. As soon as the weather turns bad or there's fog, especially fog, the enemy immediately starts storming somewhere.
The soldiers work around the clock. They have up to 5 minutes to fire. During this time, the self-propelled gun moves to the firing position. The soldiers aim the Bohdana and load it.
1, 2, 3.
The gun crew consists of 5 soldiers. All of them have been in the army since the very beginning of the full-scale invasion. They have been working together on the Bohdana for about half a year. During this time, they've become friends and set up a comfortable life at their positions. There's a summer shower here, and over there, Soldier Vassal treats everyone to his homemade dishes.
Sometimes there are pancakes, sometimes pancakes, sometimes potato pancakes, stewed meat, ragu. I do everything I can. The guys love pilaf.
The Bohdana itself is securely hidden, because the Russians are constantly trying to locate it around the clock.
The main challenge is the drones. There are drones constantly from early morning until evening. Well, during firing, if God forbid there's shelling, the gun is immediately stopped and moved into cover.
The biggest thing for us...
The greatest danger for us right now is drones Lancets. That's the biggest problem. We make nets like these and hang them on top.
The artillerymen say they're satisfied with the gun and the results of their service. The only thing they're missing is rest. They admit 30 days a year is not enough to spend time with their loved ones, but it's for their sake that they stay here, at their positions. That's all for today. But very soon, Front News will bring you new, unique reports from our journalists in the hottest spots of the war, gathered so that you know the truth. This was Volodymyr Timoshenko with you. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones.